Hey guys, what's going on? It's Rekt Capital and thank you so much for joining me in today's video here on the Rekt Capital channel. We're going to be talking about the recent breakout as a result of the El Salvador news that El Salvador is going to be accepting Bitcoin as legal tender. It is a historic development in Bitcoin's history, and perhaps many people are not fully appreciating it because we're still down around 40 to 44% from the 65,000 all-time highs, but it really is a historic event, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about how this historic event is affecting the possible potential death cross and how things have slightly changed since then and how we might be on track to potentially avoiding the cross. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future, and let's dive right into the video. So this is the first analysis on May 31st that I shared in a thread on Twitter, and of course I made a video about this here on YouTube as well. And just look at how these two EMAs, the 50 EMA and the 200 EMA, the two EMAs that are pivotal in forming that death cross. Once the 50 EMA crosses below the 200 EMA, that's when we get that death cross. And you can see how after a period of tremendous divergence where these two EMAs are quite far away from one another, you see how they're now rapidly converging. And it's really interesting because if we look at the extrapolation from May 31st, you can see that if this convergence continues in such a rapid fashion, so that would essentially mean that Bitcoin's price action just consolidates or even drops a little bit more. If that rate of rapid convergence were to continue, we'd see a death cross by the 17th of June. Mid-June. So it's cool to see because have a look at this. Since that time, here's June 10th, today's video, and if you have a look at that propagation, that extrapolation that I made compared to here, right? So this was really nicely aligned with the 50 EMA, really nicely aligned with the 200 EMA. If you have a look at this extrapolation, you'll see how the 50 EMA has deviated below it slightly and then got back on track and is deviating above the extrapolation, whereas the 50, or at least the 200 EMA, apologies, is just following the extrapolation perfectly, pretty much. So what's really cool to see here is this slight deviation, that we are now deviating above the EMA, and of course you might think of this, some people, skeptics, might start to say that this is just noise, much like this was noise, but we're now on the cusp of a potential breakout, which is why this deviation here is really important, because now that these extrapolation lines aren't necessarily still valid, you could still think of them as valid, but let's now draw new lines just to showcase how this recent flick up in the 50 EMA as a result of the 20% breakout that Bitcoin has enjoyed recently, and that's no small number. That 20% breakout has really influenced the EMA to flick up in such a way that it's pushed back the death cross by a full, well, not a full week, but by a few days definitely, and some exchanges even, if you look to BitMEX, because of course Bitstamp has a bit more price history. BitMEX is showing us that it's almost pushed back by a week. Now, of course, this is positive. It is positive that we're no longer seeing such rapid convergence, or at least that rate of that rapid convergence isn't as high as it was a few days ago. This 20% breakout has slowed down that convergence in a way that the death cross is being postponed and further pushed back into the future, which is really positive to see, because that El Salvador news about Bitcoin being accepted as legal tender, that is a historic, momentous occasion in the history of Bitcoin. And there are going to be more countries to follow suit. So bull market news in a bear market, many people are saying that this is a bear market, and I still feel that this is a mid-cycle correction, and you wouldn't be seeing such momentous historic news coming out in a bear market, especially since Michael Saylor has also announced that he's acquiring some Bitcoin, some new Bitcoin at these current price levels. So these aren't bearish news. This isn't bearish news. These are bullish developments, and it's really interesting to see how Bitcoin is going to fare now. Just below the 200 EMA, a long-term gauge of investor sentiment. That's the next resistance to watch out for. But if we break past essentially this diagonal resistance here, because we are currently in a wedging structure, breaking out from here will probably rally into the 200 EMA, which is around 40k at this time, 41k at this time. Breaking out from that wedging structure, we'd probably rally into the 200 EMA, and then we'd pull back for a bit just to test that structure into a new support. That's going to be really important in just confirming that breakout and whether or not we can break above these two EMAs and further just temper that convergence and in fact start to potentially work towards a divergence of the death cross, because Bitcoin needs to return to around, well, definitely above these levels, but we need to see Bitcoin return to these highs if we are to completely avoid a death cross where the 50 EMA would just curl up from the 200 EMA, because it looks like the 200 EMA is just going to continue its current trajectory. It's not going to move much in the coming days and weeks. The 50 EMA will be most important because it is the shorter moving average. That's going to be the one that will make the biggest change in terms of whether we cross or not. Really pivotal time. Let's see how this breakout occurs. This crossover is being postponed, and further upside is only going to postpone this death cross even more. Let's see how things continue. That's about it for today's video update. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed the video, like the video, of course, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. The next video is going to be about the Wyckoff distribution being potentially over. Many people talking about accumulation, the Wyckoff accumulation. I'll be talking about that, sharing my thoughts and analysis on the Wyckoff distribution, on the Wyckoff accumulation, and what price levels will I be watching for Bitcoin going forward, because we are starting to gather up a bit more steam and reclaiming some key weekly levels, and it all starts with this wedging structure. A breakout from there will result in a return to the 200 EMA, and we need to see that breakout confirm, but the higher time frames are also showing some promise. In any case, guys, thanks so much for watching today. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.